The most dangerous person in the room is not the loudest, but the one who smiles while holding absolute control. Charm alone makes you liked, strength alone makes you feared, but together they make you unforgettable. Charm without strength is weakness, but strength without charm is brutality. True influence lies in combining both. This single truth separates those who are merely liked or feared from those who are unforgettable. Imagine the person who relies only on charm. They may win smiles, they may be welcomed in every circle, but beneath the surface their lack of firmness makes them easy to dismiss. People may enjoy their company but will never entrust them with real power, because their charm has no backbone. It is like a mask made of silk, beautiful to look at, but fragile, easily torn apart the moment pressure is applied. Such charm entertains, but it does not command. Now picture the opposite, a person with pure strength, unsoftened by charm. Their presence may force obedience, their words may silence dissent, but over time their dominance breeds resentment. People may obey out of fear, but fear alone does not inspire loyalty, it corrodes it. A brute can make others kneel, but he cannot make them stay. He may control a room with his glare, but the moment his back is turned, knives sharpen in the shadows. History is littered with rulers and leaders who relied only on force, only to fall because no one truly stood with them when the storm came. True influence, the kind that lasts, the kind that binds people willingly to your side, emerges only when charm and strength are fused together. Charm opens the door, strength ensures you stay inside. Charm makes people want to follow you, strength prevents them from betraying you. Together, they create an aura that is both magnetic and untouchable, a paradox that keeps others leaning toward you yet wary of stepping too far. Machiavelli understood this balance better than most. In The Prince, he warned against relying solely on love or fear, and he knew that the ruler who masters both becomes untouchable. A leader who smiles yet carries unshakable authority becomes someone people cannot ignore. Think of how charm softens strength. It makes power digestible, even attractive. People forgive strength if it comes with wit, warmth, and recognition. They even admire it, because it feels less like oppression and more like guidance. At the same time, charm alone is incomplete without the steel of strength beneath it. Without that steel, charm dissolves into empty flattery, pleasant but powerless. When you combine both, you become something rare, someone others want to be near, yet also someone they dare not test. Your words carry weight, not because they are loud, but because they are backed by an inner force. Your kindness feels genuine, but everyone senses it is a choice you grant, not a weakness you bleed. Dangerous charm is precisely this, an alchemy of grace and grit, silk and stone, that captures loyalty while commanding respect. People follow those who make them feel valued while quietly commanding respect, because the human heart is rarely moved by logic alone. It is moved by the deep desire to feel significant. Every person you encounter carries invisible questions. Do I matter? Do you see me? Am I recognized? When a leader, a friend, or even a stranger answers these questions with their presence, their words, or their attention, they win something far more enduring than mere agreement. They win loyalty. But this loyalty is not created by flattery or shallow compliments. It is created when someone manages to both honor your sense of worth while never lowering themselves into weakness. This is where the genius of Machiavelli's insight reveals itself. True influence comes from making others feel seen without ever surrendering authority. That balance is delicate, yet when mastered, it makes you unforgettable. Consider for a moment the leaders who were remembered not just for their achievements, but for how they made others feel in their presence. They carried an aura of authority, yet people walked away believing they themselves were important, intelligent, and capable. Such a leader does not bark orders or drown others in displays of dominance. Instead, they create an atmosphere where people feel their contributions matter, but never for a moment doubt who holds the greater power in the room. This is quiet command. It does not rely on loudness, intimidation, or arrogance, but rather on a steady confidence that radiates without explanation. Respect flows naturally towards such individuals, because they do not demand it, they embody it. The dangerous charm of this approach lies in its subtlety. When you make others feel valued, you disarm their defenses. They stop competing with you, stop questioning your motives, because in their eyes you are not a threat, but an ally. Yet beneath this, you quietly shape their perception of you as someone unshakable, someone not to be crossed. People respect those who respect themselves, and they notice when your kindness comes from choice rather than from need. A person who flatters to gain approval is quickly unmasked as desperate, but a person who gives recognition from a place of strength inspires gratitude and loyalty. That is the difference between manipulation and mastery. One is built on neediness, the other on control. Machiavelli observed this dynamic in courts and kingdoms, where influence was often won not by those with the sharpest swords, but by those with the sharpest sense of human nature. He saw that men and women gravitate toward those who satisfy their vanity, but he also knew that vanity alone cannot hold allegiance. To make someone feel valued while maintaining authority is to strike at the very center of human psychology. You are not just appealing to their ego, you are binding them to you by creating a paradox. They feel elevated in your presence, yet simultaneously aware of your superiority. This paradox creates loyalty, mixed with awe, and awe is far harder to break than affection alone. Think of how this principle applies beyond courts and politics. In every workplace, in every circle of friends, in every relationship, the person who skillfully balances warmth with authority becomes the unspoken center. In meetings, it is not the one who shouts the loudest who gains influence, but the one who listens, who acknowledges the ideas of others, and then redefines the direction with quiet certainty. Everyone feels heard, but everyone also feels guided. In personal relationships, it is not the endlessly agreeable person who earns deep respect, but the one who can offer support and kindness while setting unshakable boundaries. People may love the overly accommodating, but they rarely admire them. Admiration is reserved for those who know their worth. To truly make others feel valued, you must master attention. Attention is the rarest currency in a world overflowing with noise, and those who give it authentically win hearts. Look someone in the eye when they speak. Recall details about their life. Make them feel that in this moment, they matter more than anyone else. This simple act plants loyalty deeper than speeches or promises ever could. But again, the key is to do so without losing yourself. If you drown others in endless approval, you become their servant. If you temper recognition with the unspoken presence of your authority, you become their leader. The art lies in balance, showing enough generosity to bind them, while maintaining enough distance to command them. Quietly commanding respect means never needing to announce your strength. It means your actions, your composure, your discipline, do the speaking. People can sense when you are not easily shaken, when insults glance off you, when chaos does not disturb your calm. They sense that there is more to you than meets the eye, and this awareness creates a boundary of respect, without you uttering a single word. Machiavelli believed it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But the truly dangerous are those who inspire both feelings at once. When people feel valued in your presence, they love you. When they sense your unshakable strength, they respect you. And when love and respect meet, loyalty becomes unbreakable. The combination of value and respect also creates a psychological hook. People want to keep returning to you. They crave the feeling of significance you give them, but they are also slightly wary of disappointing you, slightly cautious of overstepping. That dual sensation, comfort and caution, is what makes influence endure. It keeps them orbiting around you, pulled by both admiration and restraint. If you only made them feel valued, they would eventually take advantage of you. If you only demanded respect, they would eventually resent you. But by blending the two, you create an irresistible tension that keeps people bound to you willingly. Ultimately, people follow those who master this paradox, because such figures reflect something we all long for: strength that does not crush us, and recognition that does not weaken the giver. It is the embodiment of leadership at its highest form, not through force, not through empty flattery, but through the rare ability to elevate others while remaining untouchable. To achieve this is to practice a kind of psychological alchemy, turning ordinary interactions into bonds of loyalty and admiration. It is this quiet mastery that makes someone dangerously charming, the kind of person whose influence cannot be easily undone, because it is not built on fear alone, nor on love alone, but on the unshakable intertwining of both. Mystery and unpredictability amplify charm by keeping others slightly off balance, because what people cannot fully grasp, they cannot easily dismiss. Human beings are drawn to what they do not completely understand. The mind clings to unanswered questions, circling around them endlessly, trying to solve the puzzle. This is why those who are overly predictable, who reveal every thought, every motive, and every feeling, eventually lose their magnetism. They become familiar, ordinary, easy to categorize, and therefore easy to ignore. But those who guard parts of themselves, who reveal carefully, selectively, and sometimes unexpectedly, hold a unique kind of power. They create curiosity, and curiosity is the leash that pulls attention. Machiavelli understood that the most influential figures were never fully seen, never entirely known, and it was precisely that sense of incompleteness that made others obsessed with them. Mystery is not about silence or withdrawal, it is about control. To be mysterious is to reveal enough to engage, but never enough to be fully mapped. A mysterious person does not bombard others with information about themselves, nor do they rush to explain every action. Instead, they allow gaps to remain, and those gaps become powerful. People fill them with their imagination, often painting you larger, greater, and more significant than you truly are. This is the gift of mystery. It allows others to exaggerate your qualities in their minds, creating an aura that goes beyond reality. In this way, mystery is not passive, but deeply strategic. Unpredictability adds a sharper edge to this aura. When people cannot predict your next move, they cannot box you in. If every step you take is obvious, others can control or outmaneuver you. But when you remain unpredictable, you keep them alert, slightly on edge, unsure of how to handle you. This tension heightens your presence. People lean in, watching closely, because they do not want to miss what you might do next. In politics, in relationships, in business, this quality disarms rivals and captivates allies, because it resists boredom and prevents complacency. Machiavelli saw this in the conduct of rulers, who thrived not by being consistent and transparent, but by bending with the moment, shifting their tone, their alliances, and their methods, so that no one ever grew too comfortable around them. But unpredictability is not reckless. The reckless man throws others into chaos, and eventually loses trust, because his unpredictability seems rooted in weakness or instability. The dangerous kind of unpredictability is calculated. It is deliberate variation, used to unsettle others, just enough to make them cautious, never enough to brand you unreliable. For example, you may be generous most of the time, but unexpectedly firm when tested. You may be quiet in one moment, then suddenly commanding in the next. These controlled surprises send a signal: you cannot be taken for granted. People begin to tread carefully around you, not out of fear alone, but out of respect for your depth. They sense there is more to you than they can see, and this sense binds them to your orbit. Think of mystery and unpredictability as the twin shadows of charm. Charm alone can warm and attract, but when it is paired with mystery, it becomes intoxicating. People do not simply enjoy your presence, they crave it, because it stirs a question in them: what else lies beneath? And unpredictability ensures that question never fully fades. You become the storm that cannot be forecast, the flame that flickers just out of reach. In a world where most people are desperately consistent, desperately transparent, the one who can cloak themselves in intrigue becomes unforgettable. Psychologically, this dynamic works because humans are addicted to uncertainty. When outcomes are predictable, the brain relaxes and disengages. But when outcomes vary, when there is the thrill of not knowing, attention sharpens. Casinos, storytellers and performers all thrive on this principle, keeping people hooked through surprise. When applied to personal power, it means that unpredictability heightens charm by creating a subtle dependency. People cannot stop watching you, cannot stop thinking about you, because they never know what you might do next. That anticipation itself becomes your advantage. Machiavelli would have argued that mystery is also a shield. The less people know about your true intentions, your weaknesses, and your limits, the harder it is for them to attack you. If your enemies know exactly how you will respond, they can prepare against you. But if they are never certain, their strategies falter. Your unpredictability forces them to hesitate, to second-guess themselves, and in hesitation lies your advantage. Similarly, mystery protects your inner light. When you do not reveal everything, you maintain control of your image, allowing others to project onto you, while you remain free to move unseen in the shadows of their assumptions. There is also a profound connection between mystery and respect. People respect what they do not fully understand, because it feels larger than them. Familiarity may breed comfort, but mystery breeds reverence. A person who always explains themselves, who always makes their motives clear, diminishes their own aura. But a person who lets their silence speak, who lets their sudden choices suggest deeper layers, commands a respect that cannot be forced. This is why so many legendary leaders, thinkers, and even artists cultivated personas that were never fully accessible. They understood that being known too well is a kind of death to influence. Unpredictability further magnifies this by preventing others from feeling in control of you. If people know exactly what you will do, they stop taking you serious. But if you surprise them, if you occasionally overturn expectations, they must adjust themselves around you. They must prepare for multiple possibilities, and in that preparation, they grant you psychological power. You become the axis around which they revolve, not because you demanded it, but because your unpredictability made it necessary. In this way, unpredictability is not only a tool of influence, but a form of dominance. Mystery and unpredictability are not ornaments to charm, they are its amplifiers. They transform ordinary attraction into something magnetic, something dangerous. Without mystery, charm becomes pleasant, but forgettable. Without unpredictability, charm becomes safe but powerless. But with both, charm becomes unforgettable, commanding attention long after you've left the room. People follow not only because they like you, but because they cannot stop thinking about you, cannot stop wondering about you, cannot stop preparing themselves for what you might do next. This is why those who embody mystery and unpredictability live rent-free in the minds of others, exerting influence without lifting a finger. To wield mystery and unpredictability is to become an enigma that people cannot dismiss. You are not fully theirs to possess, nor entirely visible to their eyes. You are always partly out of reach, always slightly ahead of their understanding. And in that space between what is seen and unseen, expected and unexpected, you build a kind of power that cannot be imitated, a power that keeps people drawn to you, cautious around you, and forever unable to let you go. Self-mastery is the secret weapon. If you can command yourself, you can command others. This truth, though simple on the surface, is one of the hardest lessons to truly live by. Most people spend their lives trying to master the outside world, attempting to bend circumstances, opportunities, and even people to their will, but they never stop to realize that the first battlefield lies within. A person who cannot govern their own impulses, who is a slave to anger, greed or vanity, cannot hope to govern others for long. Their lack of control leaks out in every interaction, every decision, until eventually those around them see the weakness behind the mask. Machiavelli, though remembered for his ruthless insights into power, understood this foundation well. A prince who cannot discipline himself, cannot hold a kingdom, and a man who cannot rule his emotions, cannot hold influence. To command yourself is not to suppress your emotions into silence, but to bend them to your service. Anger, for instance, can be a powerful tool when timed correctly. It can display strength, draw lines or inspire fear, but ungoverned anger exposes fragility. It shows that someone else can pull your strings, that your composure can be stolen by their words or actions. The moment you lose control, you hand power over to them. Self-mastery means holding your composure even when provoked, speaking with calm, while others lose themselves in chaos. This is why disciplined individuals often seem larger than life. While the world thrashes and reacts, they remain still, unshaken, like a rock in the tide. That stillness commands respect, because it is. Most people are controlled by their impulses, so when they meet someone who commands their own, they instinctively yield. Likewise, self-mastery applies to desires. The man who is desperate for recognition, for approval, for riches, or for affection, becomes transparent. His hunger reveals itself, and others manipulate him through it. Machiavelli knew that rulers who showed too much need could be bought, tricked, or controlled, but the man who does not need, who can enjoy luxuries, but never be enslaved by them, becomes untouchable. His charm cannot be bought, his loyalty cannot be cheaply secured, and his respect cannot be taken for granted. Self-mastery frees you from invisible chains, and once freed, you can weave those chains around others. Discipline is at the heart of this. To master yourself is to set standards that you follow regardless of circumstance. You rise early, not because the world demands it, but because you demand it of yourself. You sharpen your skills, not because you are forced to, but because you refuse mediocrity. This quiet discipline accumulates into presence. Others notice when you are consistent, when you carry yourself with focus, when you live as if you answer to a higher command. They may not see the daily battles you fight within, but they feel the weight of them in your character. A disciplined person commands respect before speaking a single word, because people sense that what lies within them is unshakable. Machiavelli often stressed the role of fortune, the unpredictable hand of chance, in shaping power, but he also insisted that fortune favors those who are bold and prepared. Preparation itself is a form of self-mastery. It means not relying on luck, but sharpening yourself, so that when opportunities arise, you are ready to seize them. A man who has mastered himself walks into fortune with steady hands, while those who lack control stumble even when fortune is generous. This is why self-mastery is the ultimate weapon. It transforms chaos into order, weakness into strength, and luck into opportunity. Commanding yourself
also means mastering the mask you present to the world. Humans are actors by nature, constantly projecting versions of themselves. Those without self-mastery project carelessly. They reveal too much, speak without thought, and display emotions without control. But the self-mastered individual chooses their mask with precision. They know when to smile, when to hold silence, when to charm, and when to intimidate. They reveal what serves their aim, and conceal what would weaken it. This is not deceit, it is strategy. To control your image is to control perception, and perception, as Machiavelli warned, is often more powerful than reality itself. Self-mastery means conquering fear. Fear is the root of hesitation, and hesitation is the enemy of influence. Most people hesitate because they are bound by fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of ridicule. These fears paralyze them, shrinking their presence. But when you master yourself, fear loses its grip. You act with boldness, not because you feel no fear, but because you command it. You harness fear as fuel rather than as a chain. And when others see this courage, this ability to move forward when others freeze, they instinctively look to you as a leader. Command of self inspires confidence in others, because they know that if you can master your inner storms, you can surely navigate the storms outside. There is also a deeper psychological truth here. People trust those who are consistent with themselves. A man who changes with every mood, who contradicts himself with every passing impulse, is never fully trusted. But the one who is steady, who governs himself with discipline, becomes a foundation others can lean on. Self-mastery radiates certainty, and certainty is magnetic. People may not even fully agree with you, but if they sense that you are solid in yourself, they will follow. The irony is that those who try hardest to control others often fail, while those who focus on controlling themselves naturally draw others in. Influence is not forced, it is earned through presence. A person who has mastered themselves projects an aura that says, "I do not need you, but you may need me." That quiet confidence shifts the balance of power. Others become eager to win your attention, your approval, your alliance, because they sense that your value comes from within, not from their validation. Self-mastery is what makes dangerous charm possible. Without it, charm is shallow, strength is reckless, and influence collapses the moment pressure arises. But with it, every gesture carries weight, every word resonates, every silence speaks volume. Machiavelli's dark genius was not only about cunning manipulation of others, it was about understanding that the one who rules himself stands tallest in any room. For when you are your own master, the world bends a little closer, sensing that if you cannot be shaken by your own storms, then perhaps you cannot be shaken at all. In the end, the genius of Machiavelli teaches us that true influence is never one-dimensional. Charm alone is fragile, strength alone is brutal, but when combined, they form a presence that is magnetic and untouchable. People are drawn to those who make them feel significant, but they stay loyal to those who quietly command. Mystery deepens this bond, for what cannot be fully understood cannot be ignored, and unpredictability keeps attention bound in anticipation. Yet, none of this holds without the foundation of self-mastery, the discipline to govern yourself before you seek to govern others. To be dangerously charming is not to wear a mask of sweetness, nor to crush others with raw force, but to blend warmth with steel, visibility with enigma, and discipline with daring. It is to walk into any room with an aura that says, "I am both approachable and untouchable, generous yet formidable, admired yet feared." That is the essence of power that endures, not the power that shouts, but the power that whispers, and still makes the world listen.